Show me your heart. I know that it's beating. Tell me that you love me too. So I know your heart is true. 'Cause I need some proof of love. 'Cause I need some proof of love. 'Cause I need some proof of love. Do you like cryptocurrency, politics, economics, activism, or art? Then check out The Tatiana Show, where you can learn all about it in a fun and non-intimidating way, as if you're just hanging with friends. Go to thetatianashow.com and listen now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Proof of Love. We are not joined by Lauren Kasovitz today, which is a sad thing. But
we miss
Stephanie's
you, Lauren. Yes. Hi, I just jumped in. Hi, I'm Dr. Stephanie Murphy.
So so what are we talking about on the show today? Because we've got a lot of stuff on Proof of Love. And if you guys are listening to Proof of Love, you like this show, make sure you subscribe on Spotify or on Apple, iTunes, whatever it is called this day. And make sure you share it with your friends, proofoflovecast.com. Send us in your questions. But today we're doing some questions. We're talking about some topics. What are we talking about today, Steph?
Well, we have a bunch of great questions that we're going to talk about today, but first one is kind of timely. You know, it's the end of the year. This is probably our last recording session before Christmas, and Hanukkah this year is at the same time as Christmas and other holidays that people celebrate, or just the end of the year and New Year's. That's a big deal for lots of people. And, you know, like, I'm trying to wrap up some stuff. I'm doing like an end of year review for my business as a voice actor and trying to finish projects and that kind of thing. But, you know, this is a difficult time of year for some people. People think about, you know, maybe family members that they've lost around this time, or just dysfunctional family stuff, because around the holidays, like, I don't know about you, but family dysfunction just tends to come out when the family's all getting together for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something like that. A lot of people have memories where, you know, it gets them down. Or it's just like a dark time of year. We're almost at the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year, the least daylight, at least here in the northern hemisphere. And we are... Wait, is that true? Is it not in the southern hemisphere? I don't know, but we're in the winter in the northern hemisphere.
And warm in Uruguay.
Right. Okay. Well, at least here in the north, you know, we're in the middle of the winter, and this is the shortest time of year and the least daylight. And, you know, that is linked to, you have a sensor in your brain for daylight and for time and what time of day it is. And when that light gets messed with, sometimes it can really interfere with some of your brain functions. Some people experience something called seasonal depression, where they, you know, just feel down or all the way to outright depressed in the wintertime when the days start to get shorter. Now, I don't know if that's really like just kind of reminding them of like, traumatic memories that they may have experienced in the winter, or if it's strictly like a physiological thing where if you're just not getting enough vitamin D or not enough sunlight or whatever. I know I had an ex who experienced this, like, you know, he was kind of like a different person in the winter, and, you know, it relieved
that
as soon as it...
Fun.
Yeah, it wasn't fun for him or for me, but it's not about me, it's about him. I mean, I feel really bad for him. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing that happens. And I think there's kind of a spectrum. Like, a lot of people get sort of like the blahs in the winter. They're just like, I don't feel like doing anything. To some people getting outright depressed and like really not able to get out of bed and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's not depression if you can get out of bed or anything like that. I'm not, you know, diagnosing anybody, but we just want to acknowledge that this can be a difficult time of year for some people. And I'm curious, like, how do you feel, Tatiana? You've been in the Bahamas, so you're probably fine, but do you ever get the winter blues?
Well, there's something that I really like about the winter, which is that I don't have to go anywhere. And when you get snowed in, you know, I'm always working on so many different projects that I find myself overwhelmed really often. So there's something really nice about the winter hibernation. That being said, I hate the cold so much. I get actually angry. Just right now, my blood pressure is probably rising just thinking about how annoying the cold is. I hate being cold. The only time that I can put up with the cold is, you know, when I'm trying to hide from everybody and I don't have to go outside, and if I'm skiing. Otherwise, F the cold. I do like the change of seasons. I'm not going to lie, but I don't like being cold. I don't like the darkness. I like the sunshine. Because I've been traveling the past few winters a lot, I will say that I have less bitterness that is cultivated here in the tri-state area. New Yorkers are very, very cranky by February or March. I, on the other hand, am not, because I had a killer tan that I cultivated last February that lasted me through the season. That was great. And, you know, I'm going to be in the sunshine. That being said, it puts me not in the holiday mood. So number one, I'm still in workaholic mood. I'm not really winding things down for the holiday. And when you're in a tropical place, I don't know, it's just weird. It doesn't feel like Christmas to me. You know, my family celebrates Christmas, and this year I'm going to be in the Bahamas, which is cool because I have other family there. That's fine. But I am a little bit sad that I'm not going to get the whole, you know, Christmassy experience. And I do associate that with the cold. And on that topic, one of the things that I found really annoying throughout the years is the assumption that everybody loves each other at Christmas time. And so I actually ended up writing a song called Lonely Christmas Spirit, because one year everybody in my family was fighting, shocker. And I just wasn't feeling it. And it's very annoying because in Christmas and, you know, whatever, the holidays, everybody is pressuring each other to be happy and to spend time with family. But if your family is horrible and they're torturing you, then you just feel extra isolated. And so I wrote that song because I wanted people who did feel that isolation to know that they weren't alone. Not everybody's in a Disney movie. You know, it's not an after school special where everybody loves each other and blah, blah, blah in all situations. So I don't want people to feel alone and to feel frustrated even more so. And having that, you know, that negative in their life almost underlined with bright, you know, highlighter or whatever. So F the holiday blues. It's okay if you're feeling blue. If you are wanting to change it up, go see some sunshine, and then it'll distract you from the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, that's great advice, but sometimes people feel like they can't get away. What about like tanning beds and stuff?
I mean, I guess you can use some vitamin D, but I think it's really your soul that's a little bit sad during the holiday. You know, it's the culmination, another year is coming, and maybe it'll be good, but sometimes they kind of just melt into each other. I mean, I don't know. I just recently read a book called When, by, I think his name is Daniel Pink. And it was quite interesting about the way that people associate different emotions and whether or not they like something, about how close it is to the end, and just different time demarcations throughout your life.
How close it is to the end of your life?
No, like the end of a, okay, for example, they took some chocolates and they just gave you a bunch of chocolates, but then right after they gave you the fifth chocolate, they would say, this is your last chocolate. And people like that chocolate a lot more than if there were some chocolates coming afterward. So
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Like your perception of time changes depending on where you are in your life. And then also, if you want to start new things, you should make a demarcation point. So oftentimes in the middle of a project, energy slumps just naturally. So if you set small goals throughout the project, you can keep productivity up. And then they also talk about what your brain is doing in the morning, what your brain is doing in the afternoon, and what your brain is doing in the evening, and suiting your tasks to accommodate what kind of person you are. So if you're looking to do highly analytical stuff and you're a morning person, you should be doing that then. But if you need to do creative brainstorming stuff and you're a morning person, then maybe you want to leave that to the afternoon. I don't know. That whole book was really cool overall. And
yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. So I think the holidays, they kind of put a lot of weight on people. They're kind of forced to reckon with their actions, sort of like the Scrooge guy, right? You know, he's got the people coming in the middle of the night saying, you were bad here. You were bad here. So, or maybe you were good. And also, like, you know, if you've had a couple bad years of crypto, spending money on presents can be a little bit stressful for some people. So, you know, that's never a particularly, you know, I'm never particularly wealthy. And not that I love giving people gifts. I wish I could give people more gifts is what I'm saying. So I think that there's like a lot of financial pressure, and it kind of, I don't know, you're just forced to look at your life, and it's almost a little bit harsh, the sunlight. It's a little bit too much, maybe distorting at that point.
Yeah, I think that's what people mean when they say, like, remember the reason for the season. I mean, sometimes they're saying Jesus is the reason for the season. But I mean, to some people, if you're Christian, that's true. But for some people, I mean, just being mindful of like, what is this all about? Like, it's not about pressure to give people gifts or, pressure to do it all and put on this perfect holiday when you have a lot of other stuff going on and things to do that you would like to do, maybe for yourself. It's not about that. It's about like the spirit of giving is like, if it makes you feel good to give a gift, then you should do it. You should be getting some warm fuzzies from it and no other reason for giving, besides that.
Yeah. I mean, I like thinking of others. I like that spirit. But I feel like first of all, I think of other people throughout the year.
Yes, I think you do.
Thank you. But I do feel like a little bit grouchier than, you know what I mean? Like I want to be more in the Christmas spirit. Maybe I'll go and try and do something nice. There's still some time before I have to leave. But it's hard when you're traveling around too. Mm-hmm. The audience doesn't know this, or maybe they do if they're following my Instagram, but I was down in the Bahamas preparing for Crypto Cares. Oh, see, there's an example of me being a caring person. Crypto
Yes.
Cares, we actually pushed it until late March, early April, so more people could participate. And then, I was down in Uruguay. So it's a little disorienting when you're traveling a lot and then you're supposed to get back into the Christmas spirit or whatever as soon as you walk in the door, just because everybody else has been already kind of decompressing. I don't know, maybe less travel next year, but it doesn't ever seem to work out that way. But when you have an opportunity to go to cool places, how do you say no?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, what does Christmas mean to you, or what does the end of the year mean to you?
You know what? I haven't really reflected on that very much. It means there's a time of the month or the year where nobody's going to bother me and I can catch up on work, frankly.
Yeah, that's kind of my experience too.
Right. But that's like lame. You know what I mean? I think that it should be a time of reflection and a time for family. And I will say this, losing my grandmother a couple of years ago, just because she and I were so close, it's really put things into perspective. And I find the mundane, corny stuff of family life to be a lot more appealing now. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be so exciting. Just those kind of corny little family gatherings where you're not necessarily at a restaurant and nobody's doing anything special, but those moments I think become more important. And that's another thing that they talk about in the book too, is how things as you get older change in terms of their priority in your life. And I'm noticing that as well, which is kind of sad actually, but whatever. I mean, life is finite. So.
No, that's a great thing to reflect on actually, because it's very important to realize that we only have a limited amount of time. We don't know how much time we have on this earth. And, we got to live every day to the fullest, as corny as that sounds, right? We may not have time to do something. This may be the last time we do X, Y, Z. And this is the last time in this decade that we do, everything that we're doing right now. It's going to be a new decade, 2020. And what did you think 2020 was going to be like when you were a kid? I don't think I imagined it properly. I was thinking of flying cars and things like that.
Well,
and we're not quite there yet.
Well, if we didn't have all this government intervention, maybe we'd have some freaking flying cars.
Yeah, I think the technology is there for flying cars. Yeah, but the regulations are stopping it.
Well, I'm more concerned with what the psychic told me. So a couple
what did the
years
psychic
ago,
tell you?
This is interesting. So Lauren's really into psychics. And so I absorbed her psychic loving disease a little bit. Sorry, that's a weird way of stating it. So I went to this psychic guy and I was kind of mad on him because he's saying, well, in 2020, 21, 22, 23, you're going to be really, really rich and really successful. And I was thinking to myself at the time, Bitcoin was peaking. So I was thinking, what does this guy know? I'm pretty rich right now. I'm country, I'm on prayer.
And this is a famous psychic too, right?
I mean, I don't know how famous he is, but he has a long list of people that want to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And Lauren thinks he's amazing. So I didn't care for his comment about me not being rich and famous at that time because I thought that I already was, but I guess he was right. Thanks a lot, bro. And then he says that this is when I will find love. And I remember being so annoyed when he told me in a bunch of years, you're going to have love. I'm like, what am I going to do until then? Just get, my heart dragged around this friggin' miserable world.
Oh.
So I don't know. We've got some things to look forward to. I don't care about technological advances. I am a little concerned with what's going to happen with the world technologically in terms of, 1984 becoming a reality. I'm hoping that won't be. even more prevalent than it is now. That's more what I think about when I think of the future. But really, I'm worried about where's my husband at and where my cash, because I'm ready to be famous and rich. This poverty stuff is like over it.
And married.
Yes, exactly. Like I want the stability. And there's a lot of things that you learn when you don't have stability. And I'm definitely more wealthy than I was when I was, in college or working at the studio or something. But time marches on, and I'm hoping to find a little bit more of that and a little bit less stress. Because I thought I was cruising, and then he told me that bad news, and he basically spoiled it for us all. So if you're wondering about the bear market, go find Drew. It's his fault.
This is the psychic?
The psychic. Yes, that's his name. I'm blaming him for this.
I see. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been reflecting too on what my goals are for the next decade. I don't know if I want to share because some of it is kind of personal, but yeah, it's been awesome so far. I don't know. I just feel like every year gets better, and I'm really grateful to be alive and be here, and I'm trying to make the most of my time, and I think most of the time I succeed. So I feel pretty happy with my life.
Yeah. I think, are you going to be doing anything with your family this year? Like what's the plan?
Yes. So okay, well, I was asking you what does Christmas mean to you? To me, I had sort of like a blended not a blended family because my parents were married, but when I was growing up, my mother is Jewish and my father was not really religious at all. And so I was kind of confused. I was growing up in an area where there really weren't very many Jewish families at all. And so everyone around me was celebrating Christmas. And I was just like, Scrooge McDuck, like not in the Christmas spirit at all. I never really bought into the Santa Claus story. I was a very skeptical kid, which is great. I mean, I like that, from my little self.
Wait, but can you teach a Jewish kid about Santa? And actually, that's a total jerk move. Does Santa come and see anybody else or only Christian kids? That's kind of rude.
No, I mean, I learned that Santa wasn't coming to me because I wasn't Christian.
Jeez Louise.
Santa's not for the Jewish kids. But we got 8 nights of Hanukkah, so presents for 8 nights. But I don't know, it all seemed like a wash because, most of the kids who celebrated Christmas, it seemed like they got like 10 presents, from everyone in their family. And, we just had them sort of spread out, I guess. But, I don't know. I was not a very spiritual or religious kid. Let's just put it that way. I was extremely skeptical. And then when I was a teenager, I just became like militant atheist because, I was skeptical of this. I didn't buy the stories. I didn't like the way they were presented to me. But yeah, I never really grew up with like, oh, Christmas is this magical time of year. To me, the big deal that I liked was New Year's. I really liked reflecting on the past year and like thinking about the next year and the beginning of a new page and, like kind of closing one chapter and starting another one. And New Year's has always been like probably one of my favorite holidays. So I like to focus on that.
So before we get to New Year's, I just wanted to say that I love Santa Claus. And there was a teacher in my brother's school who told the kids that there was no Santa. And I think that that's evil as hell. Before we talk about how great New Year's is, let's talk about, are parents that lie about Santa liar, liar, pants on fire, or are they cool people that are keeping up with a fun tradition? And also, that teacher sucks. Regardless, it's not her job to disillusion children of their lovely fantasies. But what do you think about that? Do you think that it's
I think
bad?
I think there's always one kid who is going to be skeptical of the Santa story or the Tooth Fairy or God or Jesus or whatever, and there's always going to be that person who's questioning, and that's okay. We should encourage them to question. And if you really want to believe in Santa Claus, I think some kids do, and they hold on to it despite what the doubting Thomases say in their class.
I agree that there's always going to be someone to ruin it. But I think that believing in Santa is a really, really nice thing. But do you think that parents are building up a bad relationship with their kids? I've heard that argument made. They seem like miserable people making that argument.
By lying about Santa?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a betrayal if you think about it. I mean, I wasn't happy when I found out he wasn't real. I was like, what the hell?
Okay, we have to put a disclaimer on the show. Spoiler alert. Santa isn't real.
Why are you ruining it for all of our listeners that still believe?
Well, I hope there's no kids listening to this show because we were talking about a lot of adult stuff. But um, okay, so do parents ruin their relationship with their children by lying about Santa? Um, I have a friend who has two kids, and actually, yeah, he has two kids and also a stepson. But I really like the way he handles this, which whenever his kids ask him questions about Santa, he's like, well, what do you think? Do you think Santa can visit all the houses in the world in one night? And then
that person sounds like a libertarian, annoying person that would be at a
No,
party
actually,
and not have any friends.
This is someone you know and you really like this person. So
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't approve of this.
So you would prefer to be lied to about Santa? I mean,
hell yeah. Come on, man. The world is so full of bad news. All this miserable stuff happens. Can't you just be a kid and enjoy the idea of a fat guy coming through the chimney and bringing you a bunch of stuff and then cookies being involved? I mean, all of this is exciting and part of the fun. I think that,
well, I mean, that's very nice,
serious.
But like, what about when the kid, like, okay, did you have DARE in high school? The drug abuse?
Yeah, that was really effective.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, they were, in America, we had, for our international listeners, Tatiana and I both grew up in a time where we had this program called DARE. And DARE stood for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. And this was when police officers would come into the school and they would show the kids videos about drugs and how bad they are. And I mean, yeah, I would agree, like, drugs are not good for kids. But there was a lot of stuff in there that was very scary, especially about cannabis. And that's the sticking point, because I think a lot of people later, when they grew up, or maybe when they were receiving this education, found out that cannabis is actually not as scary and dangerous as they were making it out to be. And that means that the cops and our parents and our teachers lied to us. So can we trust anything that they say? And there were a lot of kids who had that attitude.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've talked to a lot of adults my age that said that. Wow, they lied to us about cannabis. What else were they lying to us about? Maybe I'm talking to conspiracy people or something, but that's what I hear a lot. That's what I hear. So
I don't know. I never felt betrayed by DARE, but I can see how somebody would think so. I mean, it's just such an overstated concern.
Well, I think it does undermine trust when adults are telling children things that aren't quite accurate. I mean, it's just like, I always prefer when someone's honest with me, but that's just me. Maybe that's just my personality.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a kid, I think there's a difference between, actually, yeah, this is like a weird question. I'm wondering, like, I would prefer the lie about Santa. I don't want the lie about weed. The lie about weed is probably like more impactful in my life, though. So I don't know. Oh, by the way, I'm doing a show with Potcoin on Friday, the 20th of December.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
So I think we're going to put the show out tomorrow, and then people can watch me at talking about that. But now we're going off onto the side.
Okay, so you had asked if I was doing anything with my family, and I launched into this whole thing about the Santa Claus, and so the point I wanted to make is that I'm more interested than about the end of the year and the end of the decade, and sort of like reflecting and looking back and looking forward. So I am actually going to a meditation retreat around the holidays with my loved one, and I am super excited about that.
That sounds cool. I wish I was going, not during this time, but
you are invited.
Actually, no, I don't know if I want to go to a meditation retreat. You've told me about it, and it doesn't sound that fun. It sounds silent.
It doesn't sound okay. I think it sounds fun, but you are invited to join us anytime you want, Tatiana. I would love to have you join us.
Well, do they feed you real food, or are they feeding you like vegetables? Because
they feed you.
Cool by me.
It is not a vegetarian or vegan diet. There is vegetarian food available for those who are, but there's also meat food. They have amazing food at this place that we're going to. It's delicious, healthy food 3 times a day, and you don't have to attend all of those if you're an intermittent faster like me. But they have great food. The facility's beautiful. It's a very reflective environment, very beautiful, with mountains and hills in the background. So I'm very excited about that. Can't wait.
Very cool. Did you guys have a Christmas tree ever growing up, or no, nothing?
We had a couple times we had a Christmas tree. We had a live one that like my dad would chop down a tree from the yard and then he would build like a little base for it because he loved to build stuff out of wood. So he
Oh,
would
that's
build a little
nice.
base, and a couple times we put lights on it and popcorn. I remember stringing popcorn onto like thread and then making a little garland for the tree. But then having a real tree became more like a pain in the ass because the needles were dropping on the rug, and my parents liked everything very clean, and so they didn't like that, and we didn't want to get a fake tree either. So my grandmother actually made us a ceramic Christmas tree with little holes that you could put little almost like light bright pegs in it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and then there was like a lamp in the middle, and so it was a ceramic Christmas tree. So that's the one I remember.
Okay. So you had like a half Christmas. Did you feel like you were an imposter when you had the Christmas tree? I think it's fun. I think everybody should have a Christmas tree. But you said that you had felt a little bit left out before. Were you feeling more comforted by it, or were you like, I don't know, guys, this doesn't feel right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was. I don't think it made a big difference to me, I guess. But I realized as an adult, I don't have the same experience of Christmas as a lot of people around me do. And that's okay. That's just my background.
Yeah, I think so. Either way, I like the holiday spirit and I like the parties and stuff that come with it.
Yeah, I like the seeing friends, and I like the cold, as I have chosen to
Yes, I
live
know you love
in
the
a
cold.
cold climate. I do like the cold, and I like the. I don't know. I like the peace. Like it seems like you can go in your home and you can be sitting around in the falling snow, and everyone leaves you alone, right? Nobody wants anything for that moment. They want stuff before
Right.
Christmas, but when it's actually Christmas and the end of the year, they don't want anything. They leave you alone. At
It's
least hopefully.
definitely a nice feeling. I
Yeah.
agree. So, what about New Year's? I don't think we're going to get to our other topics today, but I'm liking this episode, and I wanted to talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions. Do you have any? What do you or and does that work for you?
Um, every year I think about making New Year's resolutions, and I'm like, why don't I just start now? And I usually do. So, for example, I have some resolutions related to health. I had sort of an injury this year, and I was getting out of shape, um, and have resolved to get myself into better shape as much as possible, and I've already started on it. So, if you're excited about something, why not start right now?
Well, the When book would say that you need the beginning of the year, some kind of demarcation point. Um, I love
Well,
making my New
every
Year's
day is a new
resolutions.
year from a year ago, right?
Yeah, that's true. And that's what he would say is that you have to kind of reframe it. Um, I really like making a New Year's resolution. I don't think that I always can keep them. Most of the time I don't, which is I think basically the same thing with everybody else. But it kind of keeps you honest, right? You're writing down what your goals are. And personally, I've just been trying to figure out ways of becoming more productive and also ruthless with my time. Um, for example, my new album, Love Songs for Idiots, tentatively titled, is sort
I
of an
love that.
indication. Yeah, well, I mean, think about how many dudes I've spent time crying and whining over that don't care at all about me. You know what I mean? So, as time marches on, I start thinking, well, I don't want to keep giving away my time to people that are not really worth it. And I find that if I like somebody, I get very distracted. So lately, I haven't really been dating anybody, and that's actually helped me be a lot more productive. So I'm not sure that now that I, work this through with you on the line, if the books are as important as just putting up more barriers to my heart. Because when I'm not engaged with somebody, I'm really focused and productive, and that's a good thing. It has a longer term value. I mean, you have to put yourself out there. It is proof of love, but I think there's a lot of proof of annoyingness going on in my
Proof of annoyingness.
yeah, like
Aw.
so many annoying guys. I don't even understand these people. So I think being more ruthless with my time for the new year will probably be on the list. I'm always doing some healthy stuff. with varying levels of success. So that always makes it on there. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. I think 2020 is going to be an exciting year. And the only thing I'm not looking forward to is the presidential election, because then we have to hear nonstop.
Ugh.
What was the
It's
nice
already
thing?
started.
It's been nonstop the entire time. Like, I have given up on politics. I don't care. Sure, I'll support a certain candidate, but overall, it's not really the route to freedom in my mind. But at least when you don't have the 24-hour political news cycle going, you get a couple of years off, and then they torture you for a year and a half telling you how important the stupid president is, as if I'm supposed to care. And now it's like, because they hate Trump so much, you never get that break. You're just constantly assaulted with president this, president that, as if that's the only freaking solution in the world, which is the least likely thing to help you is the president. Who cares about the president? Get a job, grow your emotional life. So that's not what I'm looking forward to in 2020. Like in 2016, I didn't vote, and I'm glad, and I didn't care because I didn't want to care. And my life was unaffected pretty much. In a way that I actually have control over. I mean, does the president control our lives to a certain extent? Of course he does. But does my vote mean anything? No. I think me doing shows and me talking to people and me building out communities is far more effective and important than the stupid president. And I wish I didn't have to hear about it as if that's the only thing that matters in this world, because it's nonsense. You know what matters in this world? Love. Your friends, making a lasting legacy. And presidents are not on that list in my mind, unless you're Ron Paul.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I didn't vote either in 2016 because there was no one I was excited about voting for. And to me, that's the only reason to vote, if you're excited about someone. And so I wasn't. And also, like, my vote is not going to change anything. It's way more of an impact to have important conversations like we do on the show, and to focus on the things that you can control about your own life that are going to directly affect your happiness, like your personal relationships, like your work situation, like your living situation. Those things are all going to affect your life. A lot. Those are under your control, and they have a big impact on your quality of life. The presidential election is so far from your control that it doesn't really make sense to focus on it as much as most Americans do.
Yeah, I mean, people go bananas over it. It's all they think about. And I'm so happy that I am not burdened by that nonsense, because it's an illusion in my mind. Not to go super political on the show. We try to avoid that, or at least
no.
Stephanie doesn't. No, that's it. I feel like we've already said what we had to say, right? Like we're just saying that politics is stupid and we don't care. And we want people to focus on more important things. So as we come up to 2020, I'd like to encourage our listeners to do a little bit of self-reflection, do something nice for someone, and don't only do it because it's the holidays. I mean, I love to see people giving back throughout the year, not just during this month. But if you are giving away money this month, go out to bitgive.org, or rather bitgivefoundation.org. I think that's the URL. Because Connie and them are collecting, and that's a 501c3 deductible donation. It's an incredible organization.
They've been around for many years. They're reputable, of course.
Absolutely. BitGive is cool. And then we've got some friends over at Dust Aid. They're going to be working on the Crypto Cares event with us. And also, if you're listening and wondering what the heck is this Crypto Cares stuff, go to crypto-cares, like a hyphen, crypto-cares.com. And you can find out more. I'm updating all the info on there all the time. We've got a bunch of cool things happening. So if you want to show that you care and hang out in the Bahamas, come and see it. You guys check it out, proofoflovecast.com. We usually air on Fridays. Sometimes we're a little bit late, but that happens. Thanks for listening. Show me your heart. I know that it's beating. Tell me that you love me too. So I know your heart is true, 'cause I need some proof of love. 'Cause I need some proof of love. 'Cause I need some proof of love. Thank you for listening to Proof of Love. Please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Proof of Lovecast. More episodes can be found at proofoflovecast.com. And make sure you leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends. You are listening to Proof of Love with Tatiana Moroz, Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and Lauren Kasovitz. This show may contain adult content, language, and humor and is intended for mature audiences. If that's not you, please stop listening. Nothing you hear on Proof of Love is intended as financial advice, legal advice, therapy, or really anything other than entertainment. Please take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. Oh, and if you're hearing us on an affiliate network, the ideas and views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network that you're listening on, or of any of the sponsors or affiliate products that you may hear about on the show. Proof of Love has been brought to you by CryptoMediaHub.com, a boutique marketing and PR agency for Bitcoin and beyond.